Some logos last a decade, some barely survive a rebrand, but then there are the ones that become untouchable. What if I told you one man was behind some of the most iconic designs in history? A man who didn't just create logos, he redefined what branding means. A man so respected, even Steve Jobs didn't dare ask for revisions. That man was Paul Rand, and today we're decoding his genius, breaking down the exact principles that made his work stand the test of time, and uncovering what every designer can learn from his approach. Paul Rand was born Peretz Rosenbaum. He later changed his name to Paul Rand to create a more marketable and professional identity because, at the time, Jewish names were viewed as a barrier to mainstream success in America's advertising and design industries. He developed an eye for design early, painting signs for his father's grocery store. But like many designers of his era, he faced skepticism. His father didn't believe art and design were real careers. So Rand balanced his passion with night classes at the Pratt Institute whilst attending high school. Despite doubts from others, he was determined to make his mark. Through early hands-on work, he learned that design wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about clarity, recognition, and solving problems, principles that would later define his career. Rand's career began with humble assignments, starting with a part-time position creating stock images for a syndicate that supplied graphics to various newspapers and magazines. Rand was able to amass a pretty large portfolio of work influenced by the German advertising style Plakat. Rand loved the Swiss design style and was heavily influenced by Bauhaus masters like Walter Gropius, Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, I've probably said that wrong, and Josef Albers. Their focus on simplicity, functionality, and geometric design principles resonated deeply with him. Before Rand became a well-known artist and designer, American advertising was largely undesigned, with copywriters dictating the layouts of ads for commercial artists to then illustrate. Design was far from what we consider good and proper today. That was until Rand's work started to become well known. Rand's approach to design marked a radical shift in American commercial art. At the time, the industry was saturated with ornate illustrations, decorative typography, and text-heavy layouts, making advertising visually overwhelming and difficult to digest. The cluttered approach often diluted the message rather than strengthen it. Recognizing these shortcomings, Rand looked towards Swiss design inspirations. The focus on simplicity, function, and the structured design deeply resonated with him. Rand brought these principles to America, reshaping the way brands communicated. Rand recognized that less is more. He pioneered the shift towards simplicity, proving that the most effective logos were the ones that communicated an idea instantly. Normally, a logo should be recognizable at a glance, memorable without unnecessary details, and functional across different mediums. Rand didn't just adopt this approach, he mastered it. The Harmonica billboard from the 1920s exemplifies early 20th century American advertising. Advertisements of this era commonly feature ornate typography, dense layouts packed with information. The design prioritizes visual richness over clarity, relying on decorative elements and intricate detailing to capture attention. Additionally, the concept of negative space was rarely utilized, as advertisers aimed to maximize every inch of space within text and imagery, making the compositions visually dense and sometimes overwhelming. Now, compare it to Rand's 1940s Coronet billboard. The difference? Rand's approach eliminated clutter and strengthened brand identity. His work proved that a single well-designed image was far more effective than pages of unnecessary detail, something that we know of today, but wasn't actually implemented in most design back then. Here's a side-by-side comparison of Esquire's magazine and logo. The original mascot, Esky, was created by caricature artist E. Sims Campbell and served as the face of Esquire for decades. Originally a highly detailed illustrative character, funny little guy, Esky embodied the magazine's classic playful identity. While Paul Rand redesigned Esquire's branding, he distilled Esky into a minimalist, geometric icon, reducing it to simple lines and shapes, while still retaining its expressive quality. He didn't make it boring. His abstract approach aligned with Esquire's evolving identity, shifting towards a more sophisticated and modern image that resonated with contemporary audiences. By stripping away unnecessary details, Rand created a versatile and timeless logo that could adapt across different mediums whilst maintaining Esquire's signature wit and charm. Rand's approach reflected his commitment to modernist simplicity, playfulness, and functionality. This balance between minimalism and playfulness made the logo not only visually striking, but also engaging and memorable, transforming Esquire's branding into a timeless, scalable, and instantly recognizable identity. One thing that every graphic designer or even creative professional needs is a website. It doesn't matter if you're big or small, get yourself a website. Recently, we've been working on our brand new one, and we've moved to a platform called Framer, who is sponsoring this video. Framer allows you as a graphic designer to not know any code, but to design websites like this. It's mind-blowing what you can do inside of Framer. More so than that, you can fully customize it to be whatever you want. You don't have to learn that much, and to be honest, they have some amazing tutorials on their website. And also, if you just want to take a template, you can go and find a community template that you can get for free, or there are paid versions of the template, and you can edit it from there, giving you a bit of a head start. These beautiful websites with all these animations and interactions that you're seeing were all created without code, perfect for graphic designers like me and you who aren't web developing wizards. I've been learning how to use Framer over the past few weeks, and I'm really excited to share a video soon about our new website once it's built. And I'm also excited to share some tutorials soon that will help you in your Framer journey for designing your first website. If you want to check them out for completely free and start building your website free today with no coding or anything, please click the link down below in the description. It helps me out and it keeps these videos going live to you. Thank you, Framer, for sponsoring the video. Rand's introduction of simplicity completely galvanized the Western design world. He brought a sense of clarity that had been missing from the world of visual communication. These designs continue to resonate today, outlasting trends and still remaining deserving of being labeled iconic. IBM's first logo was decorative and hard to decipher, and in 1956 Rand redesigned it, introducing clean geometric typography that felt bold, modern and professional. He refined it even further, adding the iconic striped design, symbolizing speed and efficiency. This final version remained IBM's identity for decades. Now for the ABC logo, Paul Rand saw the potential but knew it lacked distinction. In 1962, his redesign introduced the lowercase ABC inside a simple black circle, a design that has remained virtually unchanged for over 60 years. And the same again for UPS. He transformed it into a clean geometric icon, integrating a package into the design, a visual cue for UPS's core business. It was simple, functional, and timeless. Rand himself defined the process of working as a designer as a problem-solving activity. Due to the collaborative nature of working with clients who don't necessarily grasp a designer's intention with the design and the purpose it is supposed to serve, he recognized that no client would understand the work as well as he would, and went about finding a way of making sure the client knew everything they needed. Rand worked with many clients, but in 1986, Steve Jobs, the man often credited for the success of Apple, paid Paul about $100,000 to create a logo and a visual identity for his computer company called Next. So how did Paul solve the problem? Well, with a book. After visiting the company and getting a sense of how they worked, Rand set to work and returned with a book, a 100-page book that outlined every decision he had made in the process of designing the Next logo, exploring what worked, what didn't, and why, showing mock-up sketches, alternate color palettes, and ultimately ending with the design that Rand believed would work the best, this logo. This process completely removed the debate on why a logo works or not and simply offered the client with the designer's best option. But not only that, Rand through his presentation showed and explained why every previous iteration of the logo wouldn't work. This made the decision for them, and it worked.
Working with him, he is one of the most professional people I've ever worked with, in the sense that he thought through all of the formal relationship between a client and a professional such as himself. Obviously very deep thoughts about this. And therefore he had very clear conclusions about what the relationship meant to both parties and how it should be conducted.
At the time, the Next logo worked really well. It's what I would class as the early days of minimalism because of its clean lines and impactful typography. So what can we learn from Paul Rand and his philosophies today? Number one, design is not decoration, it's problem solving. Our designs are strategic solutions, not always aesthetic choices. Yes, the way something looks matters a lot, but it's more about how it works. Visual communication is designed to communicate in a way of helping people understand what you're saying or helping people understand what the company is about. The second thing I've learned is simplicity is strength. Paul once said, design is so simple. That's why it's so complicated. He knew that the very best designs strip away the unnecessary and focus on the essential. And number three, a logo is an identity, not just a graphic. A logo derives its meaning from the quality of the thing it symbolizes, not the other way around, said Paul. Paul brilliantly shows throughout his work that a logo alone doesn't make the brand great, but it's the company's reputation, products, and actions that give it meaning. And the fourth thing that Paul always said, playfulness matters. Always keeping that idea that you can experiment and be in a constant state of playing without fear of failing is where truly revolutionary designs come from. He showed us throughout his work that playfulness is a huge part to play when designing. Without it, our work becomes stale and without personality. The thing is, when Rand was at his best as a designer, he wasn't just successful. He didn't just start a trend. When Rand did something special, it became part of the definition on how to be a designer. He didn't just have moments in the sun for himself. He had them for the entirety of design culture. Rand's philosophy proves that great design is not about decoration. It's about meaning, function, and timeless impact. His influence is everywhere. And if you're a designer, his lessons are still shaping your work, whether you realize it or not. Now, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know your favorite Paul Rand design in the comments. Thanks for watching.